welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's honestly a pretty brutal professional reality check. We're looking at a firsthand account of the massive and, frankly, shocking gap between just speaking a foreign language and the absolute brain-melting pressure of live interpretation. You might think, hey, I know the vocabulary, I can totally translate this conversation, right? Well, as we're going to see, that assumption, it's a huge trap. So, to set the stage, let's start with the exact quote that kicked this whole thing off. Wait, if you can talk about systems in English, why can't you interpret? It's one of those slightly arrogant, maybe innocent questions a global system specialist got asked by their team. And man, it's the exact kind of question that just yanks you out of your comfort zone and throws you into a totally different cognitive world. People just assume, A equals B. But our specialist found out real quick that A and B aren't even in the same universe. All right, Section 1, the illusion of fluency, starting the journey. Let's look at where our source started out. Picture a highly confident IT professional working on global projects. And a big reason for that confidence is this number right here, 790. They were armed with a solid TOEIC score of 790, which, if you're not familiar, actually shows a really strong working proficiency in business English. So they're feeling pretty good. They'd spent years studying systems, jumping into global projects, hashing out complex architectures with folks all over the world. In their head, they had this whole language thing completely handled. And honestly, you can totally see why they felt so confident. In the IT world, English actually feels surprisingly manageable because, well, the jargon does all the heavy lifting. Think about it. Terms like system architecture, database, cloud, they're already in English, whether you're speaking Japanese, Spanish, whatever. Because that terminology acts like a universal bridge, our specialist was easily following like 70 to 80% of what was said in any given meeting. They could pitch their ideas, follow the logic. It really felt like smooth sailing. Which brings us to Section 2, interpretation wall. A shattered reality. So that comfortable little bubble of competence, it was about to pop. It happened with one super simple, totally unexpected request from the team. Okay, could you interpret for us? Boom. Just like that, being asked to interpret live thrust our systems expert into this terrifying new reality. They went from just happily participating in a technical chat to suddenly being the sole linguistic bridge between two entire sides of a global project. Their immediate internal reaction was literally just, no, this is tough. It was this massive wake-up call. They realized that having the technical chops to understand a conversation absolutely does not mean you can instantly interpret it for other people. I mean, when you're speaking for yourself, you're the one in the driver's seat. But interpreting? Whole different beast. Our expert basically hit a massive invisible brick wall. Quick pause before we get into the nitty-gritty of why interpreting literally breaks our brains and how this professional managed to overcome it. Take just a second to like this explainer and hit that subscribe button if you're getting something out of this. It's a huge help to us, and it makes sure you never miss out on these deep dives. Okay, let's get back to the mechanics of this mental wall. All right, Section 3, interpreting mechanics, cognitive overload. So let's look at the actual cognitive mechanics here. When you're just speaking normally, your brain flows in one direction. Right? You process your own thoughts, you pick the pace, you choose the words, you are in control of the message. But when you interpret, you are literally forced to process two entirely different people's thoughts at the exact same time. You have zero control over what they're going to say, how fast they say it, or the weird phrasing they might use. Just look at this sequence for a second. You'll see how quickly this turns into an impossible cognitive load. Step 1, you have to listen in one language, say Japanese. Step 2, instantly organize that meaning in your head. Step 3, translate it into English and speak it out loud. But wait, you can't stop. Step 4, you immediately have to listen to the English response. Step 5, translate that back to Japanese. And the kicker, you are doing this back and forth ping pong match with zero time to process. Your working memory is just constantly being overridden. It is literally the human equivalent of running too many heavy apps until your computer's RAM just completely crashes. And just when you think your brain is maxed out, bam, the external pressure hits. Someone across the table looks at you and says, "Please translate faster." Are you kidding me? You're already struggling just to grab the meaning without any processing time. You're begging people to repeat themselves, and now the heavy, awkward stress of the room is just bearing down on you. It fully exposes how brutal this job actually is. Our source even admitted they thought, are there really people who can do simultaneous interpretation of this stuff? No way. Moving on to Section 4, growth via struggle, a professional pivot. Now, Here's where the story pivots from pure panic into a really surprising transformation. Because despite that initial feeling of, I absolutely cannot do this, our source refused to quit. They just kept doing it. Listen, organize, translate, repeat, again and again. And by forcing themselves through this exhausting loop, they unlocked an incredible feedback mechanism. They realized they were using their deep IT systems expertise as an anchor to quickly decode the English. But at the same time, forcing themselves to translate those complex concepts into clear English was actually revealing the absolute core essence of the systems they were building. So the huge takeaway here is that this brutal, high-pressure environment ultimately created what we'd call a dual expertise benefit. It strengthened both their technical foundation and their language skills at the exact same time. But honestly, it went beyond just tech and language. It forged this third, incredibly rare skill, the ability to seamlessly connect knowledge across entirely different people, cultures, and organizations. They weren't just a systems engineer anymore, They became this vital human bridge. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Embrace Impossible, the Path Forward. So what does this all actually mean for professionals today? Especially those of us facing the pretty intimidating demands of global business and digital transformation? Well, I think it all comes down to this number, 70%. You don't have to be perfect on day one. Seriously, if you wait until you're 100% ready to take on a massive challenge, like interpreting a global IT meeting, you're literally never going to do it. Starting at 70 or 80% readiness is more than enough to jump in. The rest of that percentage, that gets forged in the fire of actually doing the work. And that leads us to a really profound realization from our source's whole experience. A job you feel like you can't do might actually be the exact beginning of your growth. Stepping into a role that feels way too big, too fast, or just too complex, that's the required experience you need to close your own personal gap to 100%. The struggle isn't a sign that you don't belong there. The struggle is actually the mechanism of your development. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question. Take a hard look at your own career right now. What is your slightly impossible task? What's that thing standing right in front of you that makes you instantly think, no way, this is too tough? Because whatever that task is, conquering it might be the exact opportunity you need to build your future expertise. So embrace the wall and see what's on the other side. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.